to the web series AWS for Developers. In this video, we will see Elastic Beanstalk. So Elastic Beanstalk is an easy to use service for deploying and scaling web application and service you develop with Java, .NET, Python, Node.js, Ruby, Go, and Docker. And familiar servers such as Apache, Nginx, and Passenger and IAS. So you could use all those. You could deploy your all application with very minimal effort. What you need to do is you can just simply upload your code on Elastic Beanstalk, and Elastic Beanstalk automatically handles the deployment for capacity provisioning, load balancing, auto scaling, and application health monitoring. At the same time, you retain full control over the AWS resources powering on your application, and you can access the underlying resources at any time. Let's say if you wanted to see or access your AWS instances that you provision for your Beanstalk, you can access it easily. So there is no additional charges for Elastic Beanstalk. You can only pay for the AWS resources need to store and run your application. So what are the benefits? Fast and simple to begin. Elastic Beanstalk is fastest and simplest way to deploy your application on AWS. You simply use AWS Management Console, a Git repository, or integrated development environment such as Eclipse, Visual Studio, or to upload your application. Or you and then Elastic Beanstalk stock automatically handles your the deployment and the details of capacity provisioning, load balancing, auto scaling, even with the application health monitoring within a minutes for you. Within a minute, your application will be ready to use without any infrastructure resources configuration at your part. Then another benefit, developers productivity. Elastic Beanstalk provisions and operates infrastructure and manage application stack for you. So you don't need to worry about how the application infrastructure is being built, who's gonna build, and what you need to do is you just need to invest your skills and expertise to develop your application, and the rest of the things being handled through Elastic Beanstalk and the AWS. So complete resource control. The main benefit, you have the freedom to select AWS resources such as AWS EC2 instance type, processor type to run your workload. And the other optimal configuration for your application, you can also retain full control over AWS for powering your application. If you decided you want to take over some of the element of your infrastructure, you can do seamless by using AWS Beanstalk Management Console. So yeah, this is something we discuss what is a Beanstalk. So Beanstalk has a hierarchy. First, the top layer of Beanstalk is application. Under the application, we need to create the environments. So first, we will create a application. So we will call it as a uh, let's call it Beanstalk demo. Uh, this is Beanstalk demo. So you can supply any tags that you want, like we called it as a usage, uh, mm, testing, testing, and we can call it owner. We can call it owner. Sorry, that is spelling mistake, and we can say DevOps. So you can specify as many as tag you want, then click on the create. So this is one top layer. You can say this is the container that actually holds your environment or for your management perspective. So let's say you have a dev environment, so you can spawn up all the dev environment applications in under the dev application. And then if you have a QA, so you can create a QA application and spawn up all the environment under the QA. So this give you a ability to control your application or group your application with respect to the environment. So let's click on create the first environment. So at the moment we are selecting web server environment. So there are other ways you can create a worker environment as well. Like if you have headless APIs or some workers that need to be scheduled some tasks, so you can click on the worker environment. So first we will be going with web server environment. Click on the select button. So here we need to supply the name of our environment. So you see this is it automatically picks up by Beanstalk from here, and it appends the env. But if you don't want to use that, so what you can do is you can choose your own application. So we can say demo application one. So then even you can choose the domain name as well. So click on the check availability, and then the domain is available. So now we need to supply some description. In that we can say this is uh, demo demo application. Here at the moment we are going with managed platform. If you have some custom platform, you can choose with. But at the moment we are going with managed platform. There are a lot of managed platforms for like you have .NET Core on Linux, .NET Core on Windows, Docker, Go, Java, Node.js, Python, PHP, Ruby, and Tomcat. At the moment, we are choosing to go with the Python app, and there are platform. So you can choose any of those platform if you have built your application on Python 3.8. So you can go with this. Of if you have older version Python 3.7, so you can go with. And then this is the Beanstalk platform version. So as of now, when we are making this video, 3.3.17 is the recommended version. Then you have two options. Either you can deploy the sample application, or if you have your code on your local machine, so you can choose the file and select the file. It should be in the zip format. So one thing to be considered over here, so whenever you are compiling your application, so Elastic Beanstalk in Python case, Elastic Beanstalk looks for application.py. So what you need to do is you need to go to your application directory and just straight away right click on and compress. So whenever you unarchive, so all those files will be seen like this. Otherwise, if you zip from here, so your application will be crashed. Like I was testing, so I found that what we need to do is we need to select all the files of our code and then compress. So when it extracts into the Beanstalk instance, all the files will be placed like this. So, and a Beanstalk will look for this file on its root path. Then we have configure more options. Here you can specify different configurations. Like as I mentioned, you can define single instance for testing purpose. If you have a high availability, if you want to instantiate your web environment with Spot instances, you can choose with here. High availability, you can choose here. These are the templates automatically being picked up by Beanstalk. So for now, we are going with a single instance. Uh, at software, if you click, so you have the ability to define the environment variables. Like if your application expects some variables, environment variables, so you can define over here. Let's say we are saying database underscore URL, and we are calling it as a 127.0.0.1. And we are saying database underscore user, and we are calling it as a cloud underscore user, and we can specify database underscore pass, and we can just randomly give some sorry. Then we have a capacity. Then we have an instance. We can define our instance type, instance configuration as well. We can define the storage. If we have if we want to choose different types of storage, we can define, but at the moment we are going with container default. And if you can specify the throughput and everything by your own. Then you can choose the security groups as well. So if you wanted to create or if you wanted to use existing security group, you can choose from here, but we are leaving it as a default. Then we have a capacity. Here you can define your instance types. I choose default T2 micro and T2 small. You can choose other types as well, or you can choose the bigger instance category. Here you can define, before we go down, if you wanted to load balance or highly available, you make your application highly available, so you can define the load balance. Once you define the load balance, so it will ask you for the load balancer configuration. So how many instance you want in auto scaling group. You can define the minimum and the maximum capacity, and then you can define the fleet composition, like if you wanted to purchase instances, or you wanted to run on demand. So these are the default configuration we are leaving on. And then you can specify the custom AMI. And you can choose availability zone, like I would say any two, any three, or you can define the placement AZs. At the moment, we are leaving it as a any. Then we need to define the scaling matrices for auto scaling group. You can define different matrices as per your application requirements. Like if your application is memory hungry, you can define the memory hungry memory matrices, and you can define the periods. All these are auto scaling configuration. So you can define the configuration as per your need. If you wanted to run increase the capacity, you can define you can increase at any time from here. We are leaving it as a blank. We are leaving it as with the default values. Then since we provisioned our application with load balancer, so we can define the deployment preferences. So uh, here are the application preferences. You can define the rolling with additional batch. That means it provision another batch and deploy the application for you, or it rolled out application one by one. Once you're done, it will ask you for the percentage. If you say 10%, so that means if you have 10 instances in the fleet, so it will deploy your application in one instance at a time. If you choose with the additional batch, so it will or you can say the percentage, or you can say the fix. You can define the number of instances, but we are leaving it as last is immutable. Second last is immutable. That means it will turn off all the existing instance, create new instance, and deploy the application version. That requires downtime. Then we have a traffic split. What it will does, it will create a new application version and start splitting traffic between two instances. So at the moment, we are saying it as a all at once because we are in the development mode. So this is now we have a configuration update. Let's say you change something to your Elastic Beanstalk environment. So what happened? So we rolling this on time. It will take up one instance batch, and it will deploy or change your application instance configuration. Let's say you change the instance type. So on that time, this configuration will take impact or take in place. So the best practice is to rolling based on health. Immutable, the same way we defined earlier, it will remove all the instances and deploy it again. Then we have our deployment preferences. So ignore health checks. We in production we say true if you, you must need to ensure that your application does have a valid uh, health checks, or you can say it false. We are leaving it as a false since we do not have any application health checks. So we are giving it as a deployment done. We can say it disabled, save, or we can call it as a cancel, since we are not much worried about this. Then we have a load balancer configuration. You can define the load balancer configuration if you wanted to enable the SSL, so you can add more. Even you can control the load balancer types from here, but we are leaving it as a default. Um, Then we have a security. You can choose the elastic key pair if you have, or if you wanted to SSH your application, you can use the key pairs. I normally use the key pairs because sometimes I need to go into the instances. So here you can configure the monitoring. You can say ignore the health checks. Like this is more like a uh, health monitoring matrices. You can choose different monitoring matrices template from here. We are leaving it as a blank, leaving it as a default. Then we have managed updates, notification. If you wanted to configure the notification, you can choose. This is the most important part. Um, if you wanted to provision your Beanstalk instances in some VPC, so you can choose. And what you need to do is you can choose the visibility, load balancer visibility, public or private. We are leaving it as a public. Then we need to choose public subnets. So we have we need to choose at least two public subnets. So this is the main requirement. Then we will be we will also need to choose the instance where we need to provision. Either above one is for the load balancer subnets, and then if you wanted to provision your instance in the private subnet, then you can choose it from here. For demo purposes, we are using the public subnet. Uh, if you have database subnet, so you can choose from here. Since we do not have any database subnet associated, so we are leaving it as a blank. So this is done. So you can specify the tags you want to. So once these are done, these things are done, you can click on the create environment button, and this will launch your environment demo application. It will take around 10 to 15 minutes sometime based on your application type. So without wasting our time, what we can do, we have some other environments already provisioned, so we will do rest of the work over there. Meanwhile, this application will be deployed. So this is our test2 environment. The next thing we need to see how we can update our environment, or how we can upload or deploy the application code. So let's say this is our application we need to access. So uh, I imagine this is our application, and we need to update our application. So let's do some update on the code side. So this is our Python application. We need to update. So what we can do, we can change some HTML content. Let's find out. Let's change this line. We can find this line in our application, and you can replace it as a this is the line we changed. Okay, so we will change that line. So the line has been changed. What we need to do is we need to create a zip of this, and let's drag it over here so you guys will know how to uh, create. So this is my application directory. So what I need to do is I need to select all those files and click the zip. So once the zip is ready, what I need to do is I need to go back to my uh, Beanstalk console and click on the upload, choose the file, and from here I need to choose my zip file. I can say the version 2.1.1, and I can define the deployment policy over here. At the moment, I'm going with all at once since I have only one instance. You can choose the other one as well. So once you click on the deploy application, so this happens. So your application is started deploying from the UI or management console. So your application is healthy. So let's access our application again. So you can see this line what we changed. So that's how you can update your application. Even the configuration you can also update with respect to the environment. If you wanted to update some environment variable, so you can go to the configuration and click on the software. And from here, you can define your environment variable. Even if you wanted to change the proxy server from Nginx to Apache, you can choose from here. Or you can define the number of processes, number of threads, based on your application traffic. So you can do some more changes. You can enable you can change any configuration at any time in the Beanstalk. or if you wanted to enable, if you wanted to see what is happening with your Beanstalk instance, you can go to the events tab and you can find lots of information from here. So Elastic Beanstalk is a very handy tool when you don't have a dedicated DevOps team who or dedicated technical persons who actually manage your infrastructure. So this is the very go-to option for me when I do not have much resources, technical resources who can handle my infrastructure. So that AWS take responsibility to manage your all infrastructure resources, and you don't need to worry about your application patching and everything. So you can easily. So I hope this video will help. In the next video, we will see some more advanced topic regarding the Beanstalk migrations and Beanstalk update platform. Uh, I hope you like this video. If you really like this video, don't forget to subscribe our channel and share these videos so YouTube can list to others as well. Thank you for watching this video.